Delia Camito is our Assistant General Manager, is also here as well.
All right, now we take general public participation. If any members of the public would like to speak on any issue not on the agenda tonight, you have 3 minutes. Anyone interested? Someone's connecting to audio.
That's Rick Barker.
All right. All right, hearing none, we will move to the regular meeting agenda. Item 1, report on the status of Quarry Park bike pump track by Nicholas Calderon of County Parks.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Let me start by apologizing for missing the last meeting. Certainly not in my nature, so I apologize for that, and appreciate you all allowing me to be here tonight to give you a brief update on this. So the project has been fully designed, fully permitted, and is ready to go out to bid. We will be releasing the bid or the call for bids in January. That will allow us to get into contract for construction February, March-ish, and then that will allow us to be ready to mobilize as soon as possible after April 15th. So a condition of approval for the coastal development permit was that we couldn't break ground prior to April 15th. So we will have to monitor soil conditions, and if we do not have an exceptionally wet season, we should be able to break ground right after April 15th. If we get heavy rains throughout the winter or we get late rains, that may push the ground breaking back, only because we can't construct this project if the ground is really saturated. So we'll have to wait for it to dry out a little bit. But if all goes according to plan, April 16th, we will be on site with the contractor, breaking ground, getting this project constructed, and the track will be ready. The track will be ready for use in the summer when kids are on summer break. So that's the update at this time. We have everything. You know, the good news is I've been asked this question. You know, the project's ready to go. Again, 100% design plans are done, permits are obtained. We just are waiting for January to go out to bid. So that's kind of where we're at this point in time with this project.
Barbara.
Can you just tell us what you're going to be doing? One part of our approval was just to do whatever was environmentally feasible to reduce the impacts on the adjacent neighbors and the community. Can you tell us what you're planning to do along those lines? I'm very glad the pump track is moving forward, and I'm very happy we're in support of that. But I'm curious about this aspect of it.
Yeah, Director, great question. So maybe a month ago or so, I went to the Mid-Coast Community Council, and I brought an idea forward that would have us converting, as you're all undoubtedly aware, the medians and plazas in that part of El Granada have been cleared of most, if not all, of the eucalyptus. And so I had brought a proposal forward that would convert one of those plazas into a parking lot. It's the one that's right there that connects to Quarry Park. It directly connects to the playground area, and it would have been a great, in my opinion, area to use as overflow parking. To say that this idea was not well received by those who were there, I think would be an understatement. If I recall correctly, someone played Counting Crows song, Yellow Taxi, which talks about paving over paradise. So that kind of gave me a pretty good sense as to what the neighbors felt. So what we will be doing is we will move forward with expanding the parking lot in Quarry about 10 spaces, which will add to the parking in there in the Quarry Park proper area, and then we'll monitor to see what the outcomes are of that and if we think that there's certainly a need to identify additional parking. Again, the individuals who I would say were most vocal against this were all neighbors of Quarry Park. So I wanted to be respectful of that.
Just to follow up, any thought of looking at some point about possibly doing like parking only on one side of the street in that neighborhood, or to reduce, when there's cars on both sides of those narrow streets?
Yeah, that's really something that would have to be analyzed by the Department of Public Works, since it's a county road. We can have that conversation with them again. I think we need to really see what what impacts are occurring. That's something that, the other thing is, by having a one-way, you also have an impact on the individuals who live on that street. So are they willing to have that?
I think not necessarily a one-way street, but just parking only on one side of the street. It just is difficult to get down when there's parking on both sides.
Yeah, which would also be something that we'd have to certainly discuss with the neighbors.
Yeah.
But we'll keep us informed about that, because we're very happy to be supporting the pump track, but we also want to work with you on potential ways to to manage the impacts. So,
yeah, no, I appreciate it. And probably something I should have said at the beginning is, we were ready to break ground on this project. And one of the main reason we postponed it is so we can do a large amount of fuel reduction throughout Quarry Park. And actually there's a large number of eucalyptus trees that are surrounding that meadow where the pump track is going to be, that we had not originally anticipated taking out this soon, but we received grant funding from the state that allows us to do about 100 acres worth of work in Quarry Park. And so it just presented this new opportunity that we did not foresee prior to that. And so for us, getting as many of those eucalyptus out as possible is really a high priority. And after that track's built, trying to do some of this work would be really risky. If you start dropping a eucalyptus and it spins on you, there's a chance that thing falls on the track, and now we just damage this really important community asset. This opportunity came up. We certainly capitalized on it, and really excited to be doing the amount of fuel reduction we're doing in Quarry Park.
Any members of the public have any comments or questions?
Thank you, Nick.
Absolutely. Thanks,
for all
Rick.
your hard work on this.
Well,
we appreciate the fuel reduction as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Happy to. And I think, and Rick's been on this, from day one, but this really is a community asset, and we hold the land, but this is a community resource that we look forward to partnering with everyone to maintain and make sure that stays available.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, thank you very much, Nick, and we'll stay on this.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. And again, I apologize for the last meeting.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Oh, hey,
you.
Nick.
Yes.
Nick, I have a question. At the last GCSD Parks and Rec meeting, there was discussion of disc golf. It was quite a big discussion. I know that was included in the master plan. What priority was that placed?
Yeah, so, I'd have to go back and look, but my recollection is that disc golf ended up not making the cut of final proposed amenities that would be going at Quarry. So at this time, I don't see where disc golf is going to go. But with that said, we are going to be releasing the draft master plan for public review. And if that conversation comes up, we have that conversation.
The reason I bring that up is because the disc golf proposal overlaps where they had all of their course exactly where you're doing, and you got the grant for all that fuel reduction, which would have had to be done to make the disc golf possible. So those two kind of overlap very nicely. So maybe that should be looked at maybe in depth.
Yeah, we'll certainly, we'll certainly, sorry, I'm getting some feedback.
If you have donated edible food and good faith,
Somebody
I mean,
has something.
yeah, so, you know, we'll release the draft master plan and we'll have that conversation with the public. And so, you know, certainly see what the feedback is. But last time I looked at it, it wasn't on the, it didn't make the cut.
Yes, can you give us just a timeline on the draft master plan? I mean, that's very exciting for this community. A lot of us participated and then it stopped and.
Yeah, that plan's had a bumpy road, to say the least. It'd probably be like Q1 of 2022. You know, right now, when you look at what we have going on as a department, we're trying to tie up some loose ends elsewhere in the system and finish the pump track project and get Tunitas Creek Beach open and finish the flood park design process. We'll start the flood park design process. So we're trying to get some of these going before we release that and really bring back on this public engagement process. So probably Q1 of 2022.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
I don't know who's giving
I
us.
think it's
Anyone
PCT,
who's not
Jason.
speaking, can you take your audio off?
I just muted PCTV's both, so we'll see if that does it. David, you had texted or chatted that Kevin Powers can't get on. We don't have a waiting room on this call, so I don't know where he is. If you have his email, can you send him the link?
I just sent him the DUDEC link. I haven't heard back, so I'm not sure. I heard that one. I heard people had issues with the Zoom link, but if you click the DUDEC one, so I'm not sure.
I can call him.
And I had checked earlier today on the Zoom link on the agenda, and it got in for me. So
yeah, he was in, and then he just sent me a message. I got a message that said, unable to rejoin the meeting. The host removed you from this meeting.
oh, I hope it was permanent.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Well, when I tried the join Zoom meeting in blue on link didn't work, but the one below it did.
I think we're just going to have to disable that because that worked for 15 meetings in a row and it hasn't the past two. So.
Okay. Let's move to item number 2, consideration of a variance for APN 048013790 on Cortez Avenue. That's in West Miramar. It's Tom Carey's looking for a variance for this almost 7,500 square foot parcel. We don't have attorney or counsel here to go through the checklist of what has to be done, but I went through it and all the findings can be made as far as I can see.
The only comment I have, it's really for a very minor thing for Delia on required finding number 4. Just for when we put this to bed, there is a typo where it says conditional certificate of compliance. There's some extra letters at the end of compliance. It's on page 15 of the pack.
As far as the typo goes, I think this is typed up by council. It's used over and over again, and I find it, but he said 4.
Yeah,
I see it.
required findings 4, third line.
Yeah, the 60Y. Yeah. Okay.
Just to be clear that in order to approve this, we have to make all these findings, that it meets all these legal requirements for being an allowable lot, and it's the rights, it's an acceptable size. They've tried to merge with adjacent lots and all these other things. And as I read it, for this one, we can make this finding, and we only can approve one situation like this every 6 months, correct?
Right.
And so this is our second, this is the one for this 6 month period. And it seems to meet all the requirements. So I guess I'm happy to move approval of the variance for APN 048013-790.
I'm happy to second. I read through and there were no findings that seemed out of line to me.
Okay.
Do we have any other board comments or public comments? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Let's vote.
I'll call the roll call vote. Director Sukumal?
Aye.
Director Dye?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Marsh?
Aye.
Director Seaton?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Item 3, consideration of a class 2M sewer connection permit for APN 047-204-020, 516 Avenue, Alhambra.
Were we able to get Kevin back on?
Somebody just joined by phone.
Yes,
Kevin, is that you?
that's me here. Yes, I've been trying to get back on my computer, but someone removed me.
Sorry, Kevin, I think I did that. Usually I can remove you and you can come back on, but for some reason, so that may be operator error. I apologize.
Okay. I'm here anyway. Dave sent me a link on the phone there.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Dave.
Okay,
We have
so
a staff report, or
yeah, Delia, do you want to give a little background on this?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Connection?
Okay, this is an application we received for a class 2 sewer connection permit, which is, the M is for mixed use. That means there's living units combined with a commercial building. I can't see here, hold on one second. It's actually, this parcel is 2 lots over from where our office is located. It's a 7,750 square foot parcel. It's zone C1 S3 design review zoning district. The proposed project is going to be 3 stories. It's going to be comprised of a parking area and lobby on the first floor, very similar to our office here. There will be all offices and an office facility on the second floor. And then they have 4 living units. There are 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and 2 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartments on the 3rd floor. The project requires 5 capacity units. That's 1 for each of the living units and then 1 for the commercial part of the building. And this is before the board because I can only administratively approve permits that only require up to 2 ERUs. So this exceeds that requirement, and that's why this is before the board. The county planning has already approved the use permit, the CDP, and the COC. And I went ahead and provided a copy of the sewer permit application, the planning approval letter that lists the findings and conditions of approval by the county. I provided a set of project plans pertinent to the sewer and the assessor's parcel and mainline map. So the connection to this particular parcel goes out the back because there is a sewer line and an easement back there. So, and the plans conform to our standards for this type of project. So I would recommend approval by the board.
move approval?
I didn't find anything to object to looking through it. It's always interesting to see all the background information. So
Yeah.
I have one question, and I'm I just want to confirm this. So when you say it conforms, so has the district's engineer reviewed this, Delia? And
He did. He
given
did
his
a brief
blessing?
review of it. A lot of times he doesn't get too involved in something like this. It's pretty standard.
Yeah, I know we just give them standard details,
Yeah,
right?
he did look at it.
Okay. Yeah, I have no objections with moving forward. I just wanted to clarify that.
How many parking places are there?
12.
12.
Can you answer that?
Nancy just did, yeah, 12.
Oh, he's on mute. Yeah. I don't know how many parking places. I'd have to count them up. I thought maybe the parcel owner could answer that question.
Who made a motion for approval?
Barbara.
Barbara, okay.
Oh, I'll second. I thought Nancy had. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought Nancy had too.
I don't think I seconded. I just think I said I don't have an objection.
Okay, does anyone else have any comments? All right, Matthew would like me to call the vote.
Yes, please.
Director Sukumal?
Aye.
Director Dye?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Marsh?
Aye.
Director Seaton?
All right.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Lovely.
Thanks, Kevin, for
Short to
working
the
so hard to
point.
get back.
And
Thank you, guys.
Sorry for kicking you out, Kevin. Wasn't intentional.
I think
Okay.
it's interesting. It's a mixed use building. It's commercial and residential, which is sort of.
It's the property currently fenced off with a construction entrance on Avenue.
Right. And there
That's-
are 3-story buildings on either side already, so it's sort of matches the neighborhood.
Okay,
Okay, we will move to item number 4, consideration of ordinance to adopt mandatory organic waste disposal reduction regulations per SB 1383. And we have, I can see Chris Porter. Hi, Chris. Here with us tonight to answer any questions, or maybe Chris, would you like to, you have an opening spiel you'd like to make?
Well, SB 1383 is, it's been passed a few years ago. It's just going into effect January of 2022, when it becomes mandatory that all residential and commercial customers subscribe to organic waste service. So we have the cans in place right now. So what we will be doing is we'll be going to once a week service just with the larger ecology can. So just with the 96-gallon can. And we are working with all the businesses right now to get them set up for organic service. And of course, the biggest area in the district is Pillar Point Harbor. So we have been working with the harbor master, Chris, and what we most probably will be doing there is getting probably maybe a 20 to 30 yard compactor and just picking up all the food and compacting it there from all the different restaurants. And to me, that'll be the most efficient way, that won't be leaving the bins open for rodents and everything else there. So that is going on right now. That's a work in progress. And if you have a program that is in process, you cannot be fined or held accountable by the state. So the harbor master definitely knows all the laws and is really assisting us. Some of the smaller businesses, we've already contacted them. We've worked with them. We've had a few phone calls from residents since we sent out the initial letter. So another flyer will be going out probably in the next 2 weeks. But it's basically exactly what you've had, but every week with the enhancement of food.
Okay.
So sorry, Nancy had your.
Director Marsh?
Chris, thanks for being here. We have the green bins now, and when the green bins came out, because they say compostable on top of them, there was an education effort to say, but don't put food waste in there now. So I think I've seen the first letter. I thought it was good to keep reinforcing, okay, it's the same green bin, but now you can put food waste in it. And if I read it right, you can also put food spoiled paper, like paper towels, napkins, boxes, which is great because that will greatly reduce. I know it goes in my trash can. Just in the language in it, does it matter? It refers to blue, green, and gray cans. I know at least some of our recycling cans are black rather than blue. Like for the language in this resolution, does that matter?
It doesn't matter.
Okay. And I had just one other comment for Delia. On page 60 in the packet, on the ordinance with the whereases, the 5th, 6th, and 7th whereases refer to the city rather than the district.
That was brought to our attention. This is language that was carried over from.
It was boilerplate.
Yeah, so we'll be fixing that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and the version in your, oops, there it goes. I gotta move around. And the version that's in your packet right now, this is when you know you've been sitting at your desk too long. My
Yeah, you've been sitting still.
Go out automatically. But in the version of your pack, we've changed a few of the references, section numbers. We corrected those references to the word city, and we also slightly changed the actual title of the ordinance. But everything else is the same.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Director Guy.
I just wanted to, confirm one thing, which I think I'm pretty sure is the case, which is that we always before put food scraps into our trash to go to the landfill, and now we put it into the green waste. And where does it go?
To our composting facility.
Which is where?
Gilroy.
So the green waste, I mean, like all the yard trimmings and everything, and the food will all be composted. And then what happens to the compost that gets produced?
We have a facility at Pacheco Pass, and there's windrows and the usual manner of how the compost is handled.
So they just till it into the soil?
Hi, Chris.
I'm not a complete expert on exactly how they do it. I'm sorry. I'm having really my hands full getting everything going right now.
All right, I won't put you on the spot again, Chris.
Yeah, sorry.
I know there are other places that do large scale compost like that. It's an industrialized process. And then when the compost is ready, they sell it or donate it back to, if it comes from a city, they give it back to the city landscaping department to use for city parks, et cetera. Or they also have, some places they have a couple public days every year, and the public can come in and get, X number of gallons of ready compost.
We have that twice a year now, that we give away compost. If I may bring this up to Chuck and Delia, I sent out an email today because part of SB 1383 is there is a procurement part which says that every city, and it did list the county, has to purchase so many tons of recyclable material. And I think, Chuck, what was 5,000? It was 5,000 tons for San Mateo County. So in the email that I sent it to both Chuck and Clemens. I think we have to put our heads together and talk with the county about what the county is thinking. I mean, it doesn't say Montero so much, El Granada so much, Pescadero, whatever. It just says San Mateo County. So I know in Pacifica, we are working on getting that one requirement in SB 1383 either removed or downplayed somehow, because this could be very, very costly to the district to have to purchase all this material. In Pacifica, it's oh God, I can't remember the amount. I thought tons and tons and tons that we would have no place to even put it. And the state does not give you a variance if you are already chipping material within your town and keeping that out of the landfill. The state does not give you a credit for that material, which I kind of also thought was a little ironic. So I think, Chuck, we're going to have to talk about this and figure out whether, because I don't think the El Granada needs compostable material. We have enough compostable material in El Granada.
Right.
So I think we can talk about this if you would like, if the board would like you to, and then maybe join this other group of people that are questioning this part of SB 1383 and getting on record as to why we feel that in our area it's not feasible.
Okay, yeah, well, I think we'll have to talk about that then.
I just wanted to say that I was on a earlier meeting this evening, Resource Conservation District, and Adria Arco, she did a presentation on this, and it was actually more for ag, but they are facing the same composting problems. And she said, and there's not a recording of this is going from my memory, she said that they were going to actually build a composting plant on the coast side, and that they would build a total of 12 in San Mateo County. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a big thing and a big new industry that is just about to be born. So if you want to connect with her, you can find out what the latest is on that.
Michelle, she was from San Mateo County.
Yeah, San Mateo County Ag. I mean, I can get her email. Just remind me.
Maybe we could bring this back at our next meeting.
Can you forward that to me?
I will forward her email once I find it.
Great.
Then you can talk to her directly, and I'll do an introduction saying that I saw her on the RCD. RCD did not record the meeting, so
great.
Yes, I'll connect you guys.
The biggest concern for all the different cities that are lining up with this letter to the state is the cost. The cost is astronomical. I think for Pacific, it was about $181,000 to purchase this material.
Per year.
Per year.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are just knowing how the distribution into Half Moon Bay, how businesses have such a supply chain problem all the time. Trucks, it makes no sense to go out there because there's no economies of scale, you know, to drop off one little thing or pick up one thing and then getting stuck in the traffic on 92. There's all these distribution schemes where trucks piggyback on other trucks just to go to the coast. So I know for sure this isn't going to work, this model on the coast, because you're not going to go all the way. You might go to Pacifica because you could bring that to Daly City, but you're not going to drive all the way into Half Moon Bay for a little bit of stuff and then drive all the way out back on Highway 1, you know, out 92 or Highway 1. So it only makes sense if there's a localized distribution. If Coastside Hope, other local organizations are, you know, making sure that that food is immediately getting to the community, you know, at that grassroots level. If we're expecting other agencies, Half Moon Bay will be the very last place, you know, everywhere else in the Bay Area, it will make the least sense. And so I think as long as it takes other agencies and other cities to get caught up with this, we will be the one that replate, and these other groups are going to say, sorry, not at this time. We're still waiting, you know, and that's where I think for sure you could see it kind of that, you know, the framework for this, it really has to be a localized approach, or it's just going to be a bunch of talk. But when it comes down to execution of it, it's not going to make sense for any of these agencies, you know, any replate or anything to consistently come out with such the volume I think that they'll need and just the geography of it. So that's my general thoughts. I think the other thoughts, I've brought this up before. I think Delia brought it up to you. Just in general, I think with this program, people are going to be reaching out to you. There's going to be confusion. On your guys' website, I do have a problem with the contact us. There's no email, and then your form is limited to basically 2 sentences. So as soon as you start to write, tell us how we can help you, boom, it stops. And so I think that it is, I've gotten this feedback before where people are trying to contact you, no one answering the phone, there's no email, and then you start writing, and right when you get into the first sentence, it blocks you out. So I think I would recommend at least a more reasonable number of characters that people could email you, or putting your email address out there. The second recommendation in terms of the number of outstanding clients that haven't paid, I think there's bill issues, people searching what payment system to go through, Recology of the Coast. I think if you guys include a one-time payment link in your email each month that doesn't require people to log in, boom, from the email, you could pay it just like some of these other agencies have that. I think that will increase the number of people that pay their bills with something simple. All you guys have to do is include that option to make a one-time payment through the email that they get. And those are my recommendations I brought up last time that I think were reported to you guys.
Chris?
You are, we do have a payment system where you can have an automatic debit. It's very easy to set it up. And in fact, Recology of the Coast, out of all the Recologies, proportionately, we have the most customers that have automatic debits. So we have very few mailed out billings. I'll double check again on the contact us, but I do the contact us information on a daily basis. I do it personally because I like to see what's coming in, and I probably get 20 to 25 emails a day. And I'll check on the length definitely to make sure, but I've seen them, you know, a couple sentences long. So, but let me double check on that again.
It's 2.5 Microsoft Word sentences is what the limit is. It's okay. 250 characters, including spaces. It is
got it.
Pretty limited, and not, you know, if you guys aren't going to answer the phone right away or have an email, I think I would recommend increasing that, because you will get people that, you know, will want to communicate.
We have people answering the phone from 7:30 to 4:30, and last month we had 3,200 calls. So that concerns me that you say that we're not answering the phone.
This has been a couple case studies, but like I said, I could try again, but anytime I think, with communication, if you guys, I just recommend if you're not going to have an email address, give people option to at least have a little bit more than 2 sentences.
Got it.
So that's just a recommendation. You don't have to do it, but just in the sake of public, I think with anytime there's new programs, there's gonna be a lot of confusion questions. This may be a good time to double the number of characters that you guys allow. I don't see how that could hurt anything. That's just my recommendation.
I'll look into that myself tomorrow.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple questions. Chris, it says on our staff report that the second 30-gallon cart will be discontinued. Is that right? Or are we going to?
Yes.
We're going to still have 3 cans or 2 cans?
When we start the weekly program, the only cart that will be picked up is the green 96-gallon Recology cart. For organics.
Or will that be on the same day as regular pickup of the other carts?
Yeah, you put everything out on the same day.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. And is there any oversight or enforcement responsibility for either our district or Recology on for this?
We will. Part of the enforcement is that once a year we have to audit so many cans to make sure that the right commodities are being put in the right cans. But right now we do audit. I don't know if driving around in the neighborhoods on your pickup days, you'll see those bright orange tags on cans. And those are for people that have either trash in their recycling or trash in their organics. So the new thing that will have to be audited by us is the garbage, to make sure that people aren't putting excess food in their garbage instead of using the organics can. That's a once a year process. So I don't, every route, so you're gonna have a new route that's gonna be strictly organic. So both the 3 garbage routes, the 2 recycling routes, and now the dedicated organics route, every year we have to audit a percentage of cans and report that to the district. And then we'll have to have a form, and we will give that to the district to show that we complied with that part of SB 1383.
Thank you. I have a personal question. I compost everything on our property. I've never put out the green cart. I don't put any green waste in it. To me, that's giving away valuable material that I'm going to use as my own compost. So if you don't see the green card out there, does that make me suspect?
No. We have to audit the cans that are out.
Okay.
And that was something that I brought up in one of the meetings with the state for the whole area that I service, that there are a lot of home composting.
Right. Yeah, I compost all the food waste too, except meat, bones, and dairy, any kind of dairy. And that's been going in my garbage can because the worms won't eat it. But so that means if I have, 3 chicken bones, I throw them in the 96-gallon can and put it out there?
Sure.
Okay.
Throw them in a brown paper bag so when they look in, they see that they're in there.
Okay. Well, actually, dirty paper towels, yes, we do generate those as well. So there's something else I will put in there. The worms eat those, but slowly.
Meat wrappers.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, do we have any other questions or comments on this?
Move approval of the ordinance.
And we're just talking about the first ordinance, the organic waste disposal one, right?
Correct.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Chris, I should probably talk to you about this off the meeting, but I'm just curious. I just noticed that there are requirements for commercial businesses and multiple family residential dwellings where they have to provide education to their employees or their tenants. Who's going to enforce that? That just seems like an odd thing.
What we've done is, and we have not hit every single person yet. It's a process, but we have flyers. So we're just going to bring the flyers and give them.
So you're going to do that for us. Essentially, I don't have to worry about.
Yes, Delia, I'll be happy to do that for you.
Thank you. Just one less thing I need to worry about.
That's right.
So
I was halfway through.
yeah, I wanted to amend your motion if I could, Barbara. So
Sure.
could your motion be to waive the first reading of the ordinance and
Absolutely.
There we go. and move to approve the ordinance subject to the reading and approval of the second reading of the ordinance.
Just what I was going to say.
There we go. Okay.
Second.
Any other discussion? Chuck, let's have roll call, please.
Okay. Director Sugamel.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Marsh.
Aye.
Director Seaton.
Aye.
And Director Dye. Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Okay, part 2, item 5. This is the consideration of a memorandum of understanding with the County of San Mateo for establishment of edible food recovery program.
And this is the sister document, if you will, to the ordinance, and we're required to enter into this with the County of San Mateo. And I don't know, Chris, if you want to add anything more to what you've already said, or does it kind of speak for itself?
The district does have a few facilities that will definitely be in the edible food. A couple of the supermarkets. The county had a list and we went out and visited the different sites, and a few of the businesses had been closed. So I am on the board of directors for the Pacifica Resource Center in my spare time. And they are one of the largest gatherers of edible food on the coast side. And they have an MOU with the county right now. So I am kind of trying to work with them for these few people few businesses in El Granada that will fall under this, to see if they could extend their pickup to them. I know the county is kind of trying to work with Coastside Hope to see if they can do edible food pickup too. So this is kind of a work in process. But believe me when I say that we definitely want the county to be the person that handles the edible food portion of SB 1383. This is a very, very complicated part of this new law. There is a lot of reporting requirements, more than myself, Chuck, and Delia all together could keep up with. And there was a question that came up in another meeting I was attending about what would happen if food that was collected ended up getting someone sick. Who would be responsible for that? And the county said there's a law, the Good Samaritan law, that would not allow this person to sue the district, but they said that the district would not be responsible. So this was in the city of Pacifica, would not be responsible.
I read this with some interest, in part because I'm on the board of Coastside Hope and work in all of their food distribution programs. And I was actually happy to see the county doing the coordinating. Coastside Hope and Puente on the coast are both core service agencies for the county. And Coastside Hope does get some local food from Safeway, like, the day-old bread and milk and eggs, a day or two before they hit their sell-by date. But they have very limited capacity to store food. And the bulk of the food they distribute comes from Second Harvest, which is over the hill. And they go to Second Harvest once or twice a week to pick up food for their pantry because they don't have a great storage capacity in their pantry. And Second Harvest delivers what gets distributed to seniors twice a month and to families once a month, like this afternoon. So I think the county's sorting it out and leaving them to work with their core service agencies on how they would distribute it is the right thing to do because they'll have the most expertise. My thought reading through it was, it sounds like a very significant potential for partnership between the county and Second Harvest. The Second Harvest feeds, just about every food bank in the county. So they would be a good throughput, but it's because it will tend to be short-term shelf life food. I can see it's really complicated. So I was quite happy to see the district wouldn't be involved in figuring it out.
Me too.
Sounds like I am too.
So I would move to, however Chuck wants this to say, to approve the MOU with the county.
Yeah, that one's just a straightforward one. Yeah, that's good.
We have a second? I'll second.
Okay, would you like me to call the roll?
Yes, please.
Okay, Director Sukamel.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Marsh.
Aye.
Director Seaton.
Aye.
And Director Dye.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 5-0.
Chuck, would you be willing to execute the document, and I'll put in our district name, and should we get that out right away, Chris, to the county?
Sure.
Okay.
Delia, I'm sure you'll find it, but there are probably 100 places where jurisdiction has to be replaced with the
Yeah,
district.
I saw all of them. We'll forget.
Yeah. And then at the end, it refers to the city manager and the city name. So you'll get it, I'm sure.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris. As usual, thanks for all your help.
Hi, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, item 6, report on parks and recreation activities. Nancy, would you like to start this off, or shall we go right to Pat?
I think we'll just follow the memo because this will be fairly quick. My part is just to follow up on the interviews with mine and Eric's part on the interviews with potential replacements for Paul Kolsch on PAC and additional alternates So quickly, there it is in the memo. We had 3 applicants. They were all good. They were all actually quite different from each other. And I would say 2 of the 3 were quite different from others who are on PAC in terms of their backgrounds and their interests and what they could bring to it. Our recommendations are in the memo, but we recommend nominating as an appointee Ethan Rayner. Ethan works for the California State Parks in Half Moon Bay, coordinating habitat restoration, and has quite a lot of experience recruiting and coordinating volunteers and outreach efforts, and is a naturalist, has a University of California naturalist certification. So we don't have anybody on the PAC who has that kind of environmental background, but also his experience with working with volunteers, coordinating outreach, I think would be a great addition to the PAC. Eric, do you want to add anything on Ethan?
No, I think you covered it. I mean, I think all 3 candidates were good candidates, and I hope they'll stay engaged, and I hope that Megan and Thomas will be available and ready to step up should we ever need them as alternates.
Megan was our number 2. She has a young child just starting school, which none of the other PAC members have a young one like that. I think Rick has adolescents and others have older kids. She is an outdoors person really looking to make sure that she is plugged into the community and giving back to the community. She is a member of the Coastside Mothers Club and a past board member of the Coastside Mothers Club, which is a great connection for when we're looking for input on recreation and activities. She does work full-time at Kaiser in healthcare, so she had a concern about the time commitment, which if there was, it could have either been Megan or Ethan. That concern, I think that had us put her at first alternate. The third person, Thomas DeMeo, was great, just moved to the area last spring, is an avid surfer, mountain biker, has lived in Santa Cruz County for quite a long time and just moved to Miramar last May. And he was very energetic and very interesting. I think we put him as the second alternate simply because in terms of profile, he's very much like Rick or very much like Susanna. So just for a little bit more diversity on PAC, we placed the other 2 a little bit higher up. But they were all, any of them would be great additions to PAC. And we'd recommend actually asking both Megan and Thomas to allow us to call them alternates because either one of them would be a good addition to PAC.
Thank you. We'll need a motion to approve appointing Ethan Rayner to the PAC.
Let's do the alternates at the same time.
Okay.
Just to accept the recommendation from the subcommittee.
Unless one of you 2 wants to make the motion, I'm happy to make the motion.
I feel like somebody else should move to approve what we recommended.
Well, then I move that we accept the recommendation of our ad hoc committee to appoint Ethan,
Megan and Thomas.
Ethan Thomas and as the member of the PAC and the other 2 candidates as alternates.
Yeah, Ethan Rayner.
Ethan Rayner, sorry. And I met him actually at a Coastside Land Trust event where he was helping.
I actually stumbled a little because he's got the last name of our district engineer, John Rayner. I wonder if there's a relation.
Yeah,
I think you would have mentioned it.
He did mention that he met Barbara, and that's how he found the PAC existed.
That's how he stumbled across us.
He's an avid hiker in Quarry Park, daily hiker.
Did
He
we
was
get a second?
wonderful with the kids. I saw him working with the high school students who are helping the 4th grade students, and he was absolutely excellent, very knowledgeable. I thought he was great. So, happy to concur with your recommendation.
Can we get a second for the motion? I'll second this one too.
All right, I will call the vote then. Director Sukamel,
Aye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Marsh,
Aye.
Director Seaton,
Aye.
and Director Dye.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
I see Pat is here, so I'll hand over to Pat.
Thank you, and I would like to thank the three applicants for coming forward. And this is how we get the community together and keep it functioning and make it better. So thank you for making yourselves available. All right, I believe Pat Tierney has some words for us.
Sure. Thank you for having me again. We did have a PAC meeting on November 3rd. I'm going to just go over a couple of the highlights from that because they're important. And we had Maria Burns from Friends of Half Moon Bay Parks and Recreation talk about their efforts towards getting a swimming pool on the coast side. And I also attended their meeting earlier this week, and that was a major discussion item. Again, they represent the whole coast side, just not Half Moon Bay. In the case of the swimming pool, they are working closely with the school district at this time to try to either secure an additional site for a swimming pool. They're looking at actually using the existing one and then maybe creating one that is regulation size for water polo and so forth. But they're moving ahead with that. They don't have a lot of money yet, but they're making efforts. So that's a good thing for all of us. Another item that was had a lot of discussion and had 5 people in attendance talking about it. This was the disc golf course. Currently, there is no disc golf course in San Mateo, public disc golf course in San Mateo County. In the Quarry Park Master Plan meetings, you probably recall that disc golf was one of the most popular items. I think it was in the top 5 amenities that were requested at Quarry Park. I've since talked with county planners and parks people, and like Nicholas said, it's not in the draft master plan, which is disappointing because the public would really like to see that. The disc golf course would either 9 or 18 holes would cost about $75,000. So relatively small ticket item. Disc golf growing in popularity quickly. It's a professional sport. It's a women's league. It's a men's league. It's young, old. Lots and lots of different people play disc golf. It's accessible because it's a low entry cost. And so 2 sites were identified in the Quarry Master Plan, and both have designs for disc golf courses. One is above the playground at Quarry Park on a ridge. The other is Murata Surf East. And all the speakers said Murata Surf East is far superior to any of the other sites that are being considered. And they were wondering why nothing is being done for disc golf in the coast side. After a lot of discussion by the PAC members, we passed a resolution that was sent on to you all, and I will read it just here very quickly. We moved to advocate, to have the board advocate for a permanent community disc golf course within the district with consideration for funding of its construction. And we use the model of the pump track as an example of how that might happen. And there are sites and the available. There's intermediate steps that could be done, such as the district buying and lending out portable disc golf baskets for people to use, as well as urging the county to consider disc golf in the Quarry Master Plan when it comes up for review. So this was voted 4-0 with 1 abstention. And so this is something that the PAC feels is important to the community and feels like they can get behind and assist the district in trying to move forward on it. And the last item was the work plan that I presented to you in the last board meeting. The members approved the work plan 5.0 that I showed you, with the addition of consideration for a running or biking race that starts from Burnham Park. Something that would start in 2022. Again, a relatively easy fix with sponsoring organizations interested in working with us. So we sent you 2 resolutions, and we hope that you will consider them.
I'd just like to mention that last year, the PAC work plan was presented to the board in January. So that's what I intended to do, is to put forward the work plan for approval to the board in January.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't think the language went to the board yet.
Yeah, we'll make sure
the PAC discussed disc golf, they thought it was in the Quarry Park Master Plan. So I hope that when the Quarry Park Master Plan comes out, the disc golfers go to that meeting. I told Martin that that was the place to have 100 people show up. They wouldn't get an objection from us, but we can't do it. So
it just gives you a sense of what your advisory committee thinks is very important right now.
I could be wrong, but I think, didn't Nick Calderon say that it was in the master plan, but it was not a high priority?
No, he said it's not in the draft that's coming out soon for review. It was in earlier drafts, but it's not in the current draft.
Yeah, I'd heard that, I can't reveal the source, but someone at the county told me that it was, he was told to take it out of the master plan.
Okay, maybe the district can help reinsert it by helping to cover some of the cost.
That was kind of the thinking, similar to what we did with the pump track. So we might start similar to that after the January meeting with just a letter of advocacy in response to the master plan whenever they put it out, with similar to what we did a year before they decided to do the pump track, with an offer to share some of the costs. The Murata East site, as Pat said, was much favored. In fact, there is one of the folks who came to the PAC meeting who has a portable set. I see him walking to and from Quarry Park or Murata East with his sons with his portable set, and that's where they set it up to play.
I think the model of offering to support it financially and to some extent, we're not talking about a lot of dollars here, but mostly to send a letter urging and saying this is important, this is a priority for some of our citizens, it's a priority for the board. That's one way to get around, what's going to be neighbor opposition to any change. And so I would hope that would be something we could do.
I had a query when we were getting the commentary back a year ago on the final Burnham Park master plan, whether it would fit there. And when I told him it was only 5 acres, he understood it wouldn't fit there. Generally for an 18-hole course, they said you need about 19 acres because they're kind of sprawling and spread out to go from one to the next with the discs. So something like the Quarry property or the CUSD property, potentially, or Murata East. But it needs some space. They're frequently on golf courses as an alternative use in a golf course.
The closest disc golf course is, what's the golf course over the hill? Emerald.
It's Emerald
And,
9-hole golf course.
That's $15. So little kids are not going to be playing that.
Director Dye.
I really support our PAC and so forth, but I feel like at this point, I don't really know enough about this. 5 people came to their meeting, and I don't know what the environmental impacts of this are in terms of its 20-acre site. What, how does that impact the property? And we don't have the property. I feel like I'd like a little more information before jumping on board to push this. I'm not against it, but I'd like to know a little more about it before we would move forward as a board to offer funding, certainly.
They did say that it is one of the least environmentally impactful sports because it just means walking from one place to another to pick up your Frisbee.
But that is a lot of space. All of Murata Surf East, I'm sure, is at 19 acres.
Yeah, that's where Martin, who was here earlier, said that's why you have a few holes so you can move the posts around, and that gives you different holes.
Yeah, well, yeah, that area has a lot of wetlands that can't be intruded onto.
I think that's why the county avoided it altogether in the park plan.
But yeah, let's make sure this gets in the January agenda, and we have more answers for those kinds of questions.
I'll work with PAC and Nancy to put something together for that.
Great.
There was a really good and actually quite informational discussion at PAC if you want to check out the recording from the November 3rd meeting.
Nancy, do you recall what in the surveys that you tabulated before, how much interest there was in disc golf?
It did pop up on the 2015 and 2019 surveys as something of interest. It's just one of those kind of low impact, fairly inexpensive sports to do, but I forget, Pat, did the person from Half Moon Bay Disc Golf Club say how many members they had? I think it was like 150.
I believe that is. And the other thing on the survey was not a listed item. So people had to think about that and recall that it's important to them rather than seeing it as an item on the survey and checking that off, which makes it anytime you have a mention that is not identified in the survey, there's usually a lot more people behind that than what you see.
During the Quarry Park Master Plan meetings, community meetings, there was always a pump track faction and a disc golf faction. Disc golf factions may be a little smaller, but they were very enthusiastic as well.
And Barbara, the members of the public who are playing disc golf and designed disc golf courses said that no trees would need to be cut. There might need to be a little bit of brush thinning, which would probably be good for fire break anyway, and that it doesn't damage trees. In other words, we're talking about cutting down eucalyptus, and now we're worried about a Frisbee hitting a tree. They indicate that there's very little environmental impact, and it's not yelling and screaming and partying and rowdy crowd either. So it's pretty minimal impact all around.
Okay. It's teed up.
Yeah,
January.
There will be more questions about that topic, environmental impact and space required.
I'd just like to understand someone to come to us with just, a brief presentation of what a course looks like, what kind of environmental impacts there may be. We've got a lot of, the people who are doing it are presumably walking the same paths all the time. So for that 20 acres, you've got people, constantly traversing. So I don't know. I'm not saying I'm against it at all. I think it seems like a great thing and we could support it. I just don't feel like I have enough information tonight to say, yeah, let's spend money on it. That's where I'm coming from. That's all.
All right. right, so we've got it teed up for our January agenda, and Delia will work with Nancy and Pat, I guess.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you, Pat and Nancy. Item number 7.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Can I speak to this item also? I was disappointed that there wasn't more support for the idea of monthly nature walks, but again, maybe that needs to be put together into a more official kind of presentation to the PAC. So we'll do that for next time. I also wanted to just report a little progress report on the 4th grade nature program that GCSD is supporting. The kids, I think I showed you pictures last time for their first thing where they came out and prepared their garden area and did journaling out in the open space, and you saw some pictures. They've since planted their native plant seeds that they're growing in the classroom. They're very excited about them. And then in the next week, the kids from El Granada Elementary in 2 groups are going to be taking a walk up to Quarry Park, going up to the little dam and the pond and doing some nature journaling there and talking about ponds and wildlife and so forth. So I think it's exciting what they're doing. And I'm sure that at our next meeting, we'll have a report with photos of what the kids are learning as part of the program that GCSD is supporting.
Delia, Rick says that's his son's class and it's awesome. Delia, will you follow up with the appointees and alternates, or should Eric and I do that? Oh, you're muted.
I will contact them directly.
Thank you.
And I was also going to propose an amendment to the PAC procedures so that we can add a clause that says if someone doesn't provide a written resignation, that if they miss, a certain number of meetings, that they're automatically no longer on PAC, so that we can appoint someone to their position. Because I think we're going to have one of the alternates on very quickly, because we've had a new member that hasn't showed up to the last meeting. So
I would really support that. Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll keep you all on the loop, and I will contact them directly.
Thank you.
And if I could jump in on the park side, I've got a meeting set up on Tuesday with Tom Conroy and BKF. I'm going to lay out our strategy for moving forward. We had talked previously about project management and whatnot, so I want to put together an outline coming out of that meeting of who's going to do what a timeline looks like and whatnot, and get that leg of it kind of more in focus. And then, I've talked offline with a couple people. We can continue talking about how we want to proceed with project management and whatnot.
Good. Okay, anything else on this item? PAC, Parks, Rec? Okay, now we'll move to item number 7. Consideration of resolution establishing fees for processing applications and other administrative processing. This must be Delia.
Okay, I will tell you that I am just requesting a couple minor changes to our existing fee resolution, which was adopted back in 2008. Everything is pretty much the same. I just wanted to add a fee that I've been charging people that we didn't have on here, which is $100 for the ones that we just do an inspection only. We don't issue a permit, but we do have to inspect a connection. We pay SAM for their inspectors, and so I just thought it would be nice if we could collect that fee. The other change is to correct an error from, I have never collected anything less than $4,000 as a deposit for class 3 permits. And that's basically money that we hold that will pay for the cost of our district engineer, and it gets used up rather quickly. So I was proposing to not only fix it from 400 in the original resolution, instead of going to 4,000, I was going to bump it up to 5,000. Right now we have one class 3 in the works, which is Big Wave, where I need to collect more money. It just makes it a little easier for me to collect an amount that's a little bit more and easier to keep track of. So the only other change was to change the name of it itself as an attachment. I didn't want to call it a resolution. I just wanted to call it a fee schedule. So I'm asking for a board approval on those 3 changes to the fee resolution.
And a class 3 permit is for a sewer main extension to serve a new project, and it basically covers John Rayner's cost for reviewing the plan.
Does $100 actually cover that cost?
You know, I haven't been able to get a good idea of what the cost is. I think it does, but you know, I can't really get a number out of Sam. So, and I'm not really sure. They track it by hours, and you know, it's less than an hour for an inspection. So I think it covers it. We charge $150 for regular applications, and I don't want to charge them as much because we don't do it. I don't do as much work as far as our administrative work involved. It's very minimal.
Okay. I asked that because we're sticking with all the rest are the 2008 fees, and I can't think of anything that it doesn't cost more now than it did in 2000.
I know. Yeah, well.
And if it's real engineer's time, they don't do anything for $100.
Oh, no. These are just for the SAM inspector to go out and do a hookup connection. So there's no engineer involved at all.
Okay.
Yeah, the engineer's time is where we get the 5,000. So.
Yeah.
Right.
I support all of the proposed changes, but Delia, I just had my editor's pen out today, and we're missing a word in the resolution for 2021 on, I think it's page 109 in the pack, on the now therefore be it resolved. It says the Granada Community Service Fee Schedule, so it's missing the word district.
Okay. I probably changed it from Granada Sanitary District and just missed that, so I'll fix that. Thank you. Okay. It's actually this exact same resolution as we had before, but with the updated dates and everything else. But the attachment A is added those things.
Yeah, its title has district in it, so it's just a.
Yeah, I'll fix that. Thank you.
Okay.
Do we have any other questions or discussion?
Move approval. Unless somebody else wants to jump in there.
Hey, you already did it.
Nancy, were you seconding?
I'll second. I would have got him first, but I was muted.
I'll call the question. Director Sugamel?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Marsh?
Aye.
Director Seaton? Director Dye?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Okay, we will move to item number 8, which I'm going to dismiss. I asked to put this on the agenda a couple of weeks ago when there was some local concern about redistricting of the supervisorial districts in the county. And since then, I've been following what the district, whatever the commission is called, and the supervisors have been up to. And the local concern that I heard and I've shared was that we didn't want to see the unincorporated coast side split off into 2 or 3 districts because we have common interests. And so we wanted to express, I wanted to ask the board to express our support for keeping all the unincorporated areas on the coast all the way to the Santa Cruz County line in the same supervisorial district. And from what I see going on at Board of Supervisors, that's exactly what's happening. So I don't think we need to waste any more time on this.
Okay.
Everyone agree? Okay. Item number 9, discussion of SAM plant process issues and non-domestic source control program.
Okay, so in your board packet is an agenda memo, partially originally drafted by Barbara and then Matthew and I added our edits, if you will. We've we beat the BOD issue to death, Lord knows. So we don't need to go deeper into that. What we're focusing on now is the actual non-domestic source control program for the various businesses within our district, Montara and Half Moon Bay. And Barbara's done a good job of kind of outlining what Sam has done in the past, you know, what actions they've taken and where we're at. And, you know, just to provide the brief recap, this all started up when Sam had the plant upsets caused by BOD in October, November, and then they had another set of upsets in June caused by reasons unknown. And so we're looking at this non-domestic source control program. Sam had originally taken it under their wing to start. They have a resolution that they passed back in 1989 and they updated it in 1994. It's resolution 94-2. And it outlines the non-domestic source control program that they're to follow. It has been followed intermittently over the past 25 years or so. Not much has been done in the past 3 or 4 or 5 years. We've had a FOG program in place, which is fats, oils, and grease, which is grease interceptors coming from various establishments and whatnot. So they have been pursuing that, but we haven't done any education or inspection or whatnot. After the BOD upsets in October, November last year, they went out and did a whole bunch of testing, as you all saw, and spent some money on that stuff. So we've been having managers meetings and Sam's been meeting on this for the past several months to try and figure out what this program looks like and how we want to move forward with it. And since our last meeting here at GCSD, I've had, I think, 3 meetings with the managers of the member agencies and with Sam. We've kind of come down to a little bit of a divide in that Half Moon Bay and GCSD would like to be the interface with our ratepayers, as we've discussed at this last meeting, probably the meetings before that as well. And that was the direction I got from your board. So Montara is of the opinion that they would rather have Sam take control of the whole thing and run it. Sam kind of started doing that with our Princeton businesses and the breweries, obviously, and that got to be maybe a little bit heavy-handed. So I think that's why your board went in the direction of let us be the interface. So what we're looking forward to doing is working as a member agency, working together collaboratively with Sam to develop this program. It'll be educational with some testing. It won't be as often as has been discussed in the past. And focusing on the education, telling breweries, restaurants, you know, fish product, commercial establishments that, hey, don't put this stuff down the treatment or the pipes because it goes to the treatment plant. Here's the impact on the treatment plant, that kind of thing. So Barbara asked us to put this on the agenda to kind of reaffirm the board's direction that, yes, we do want to be the interface. We GCSD want to be the interface with our ratepayers. And, you know, do we support developing an education program and legal requirements? Everyone agrees across the board that we need a non-domestic program. Certainly it's good practices. And at this point in time, I think the regional board is looking for that. And, you know, I think that's a good thing. So that's where we are. So broadly speaking, we're looking for just reaffirmation of that. Sam's got a board meeting on Monday to discuss this. So we'd like to go in with that. Barbara or Matthew, I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that.
I guess the only thing I would add is that I think probably it will come back to this board for a final decision once the details of the plan are finally worked out with Sam, Half Moon Bay, and, well, I think Montara may work directly with Sam, have a different type of program, but whatever gets worked out by the managers and so forth. But it seemed like since we were pushing pretty hard for a program where we were the interface, that it would be good to consult this board and make sure that everyone thought that was a good idea. It will cost us potentially a bit more to do that, but we can have a program that's more calibrated toward managing the wastewater from the businesses in our district in a way that is really effective. So.
Yeah, and I don't know, Barbara, that it will come back to us because I think the goal is to have the SAM board approve the policy outline that's been produced coming out of the managers' meetings. Remember, we're an advisory committee, the managers. The SAM board is the one who's going to take the action. So if they take action on Monday to approve that draft outline of a program, we from GCSD's perspective, from staff perspective anyway, we're ready to get going. If SAM approves it Monday, we're ready to get moving along and get the program in place. So, we don't need any more delay.
Well, Sam, Half Moon Bay has done an outline of how they think the program can work, and Director Dye has has done a similar outline for our district, and Sam is aware of, I'm sure, of both of those. So we have a good start, but I don't think Monday we're going to have something final enough that we can say it's not now go forward and put it in place.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. The SAM board could approve the outline that came out of the managers meeting as an outline and let staff work out the details, because at that point in time, there are details. The real big question, I think, with everyone, besides those details of how often do we test, what do the educational materials look like,
and who do we test? How does the testing work? That's really important.
Good point, right? Who do we test and who falls under this umbrella of non-domestic? Technically, everyone who's not a household is a non-domestic, but we don't need to go chasing office buildings that are putting out 50 gallons a day of sewage. So, what I stressed in our meetings was, a collaborative approach and also a common sense approach. We don't, somewhere between a fish processing plant and an office building is something we have to permit. And I think we could leave it to that. I don't know what will come out of the SAM meeting, Matthew. It'd be good if they approved a policy, certainly, and approve that draft policy, because then we can get moving forward. The real question, again, keeps coming back to, and I think this is where the rub is a little bit, because Montera, again, wants SAM to run the whole program. Kishen has said previously a few times, he doesn't care which way it goes. I can't tell if that's real or not, but we're ready to move ahead with this. And I think, we from a GCSD perspective, and it's not that complicated a program as usual. We don't have that many businesses. It's an educational program. We've already spoken with Vivian Housen, who's an engineer who works for Half Moon Bay and is also the person who does our sewer system management plan. So I've worked with her for a long time. And I think we can get a program in place quickly and moving, and that'll be a good one.
Has everyone seen this draft collaborative NDWSCP?
Unless it's in the pack.
Oh, you're asking me? Sorry, Barbara. Yeah. The one yeah, no, they have not. I circulated that to you and Matthew today. So, but I certainly can circulate it.
Well, that's why I feel like at the most, maybe they could approve the concept in authorizing you to work with the other agencies to develop the final. So that's.
Yeah. And the two questions at the end of our the board memo is, does the board want to affirm the fact that we want to be the interface with our ratepayers and support developing a education program, legal requirements for the wastewater management for dischargers?
So rather than an arbitrary system which says we're going to test them right away and we have the right to test them as often as we want, as much as, technically the way it's written now, they could be tested once a month, once a week at $1,000 a test. There may be times where testing is necessary, but the idea is that we would develop best practices, and actually the breweries are the first to say they would help us. They have consultants, they would work with us to develop those. so that if, for example, they had to dump a tank of beer, they would be required to notify Sam and make provision not to dump it all at once or whatever, whatever the best practices are, that they would agree to all those things. And the key is that the amount of flow gets factored in, because these businesses are extremely tiny in terms of, they use less than 100 gallons a day. That's all their equipment can use. And don't forget, a bunch of that turns into beer that gets drunk. It's not like they're putting a whole lot of wastewater in. So I think if we have a program that, has some legal requirements, has some solid education, which would apply to nurseries and for the restaurants, it would be the FOG program. So you'd have a package for each kind of business, and once a year they'd pay their fee for the permit. And if testing was required, and they would interface with GCSD rather than SAM. So the question is really, does this seem like a good way for us to go? Sorry, Chuck, I didn't mean to.
Record, Mark.
No, I was going to say Nancy got her hand up.
I agree that GCSD should be the interface, because GCSD is the interface with our ratepayers in every other instance. And I think it's the value add for our staff who knows our districts and our territory. And I support then developing an education program, because as you said, the data doesn't suggest that these are the drivers of the problem, because their effluent is so tiny compared to the 1.3 million gallons that SAM processes every day. My question is, I think Sam was proposing hiring that brewery-oriented consultant for $90,000 who would mostly be focused on GCSD's ratepayers. Do you imagine the consultant cost to develop and help manage this program would be in that range or something less?
Oh, gosh, no. And when talking to Barbara and Matthew last week and earlier, we pay Sam, and I pointed this out in our managers meeting, I think it surprised a couple of people. We pay Sam each year, the three agencies, $150,000 a year for the non-domestic. It's called the environmental services budget or something like that. It's a separate budget aside from the admin, aside from the operations, that is targeted for this stuff. We've paid it for the past 4 years, and we haven't had a program in place. We also have, we charge the restaurants and breweries and different establishments different strengths of sewage through our sewer service charge. So a gallon coming from an office building might cost $1 per 100 gallons, and something coming from a restaurant might cost $3 per 100 gallons because they have a stronger strength. So we're collecting fees directly and indirectly with this stuff. But to answer your question, that his name is Leo Shem. I don't think we would hire him. I don't think the consultant Vivian, if we do go ahead with using her, wouldn't be anywhere near that, because she's developing a draft educational program. And the reason I keep focusing on the education, it might be worth mentioning, is if someone goes and drops a bunch of stuff down the sewer system, and let's say it's high in BOD, they drop a bucket of yeast down there, we won't find out. The readings don't get taken until, once you take a sample, it takes 5 days to get a BOD reading. It's too late. By then it's in the system and whatnot. So education is the most important thing, saying, hey, don't put it in there in the first place. We call it the midnight dumpers. You can't stop them. If someone wants to do something illegally, we've got 970 manholes in Granada. They're going to find one, so the education is a really important part of this.
Let me just say that the businesses in our district are all very proud of being environmentalists. It's right. key to their ethos. And all of their grain goes to a pig farm, and all of their yeast goes to the landfill. So they know very well that they never have dumped that stuff in the wastewater stream. So And they also indicated that they have consultants who would be happy to work on us, you know, so that we are all in agreement on best practices. So it seems like a practical way to deal with this real, you know, whatever the source of the problem is, that we need to have this program in place. The question is, what kind of program will it be and who will implement it? And so it seemed, I asked to have this on the agenda to see if everybody on this board is comfortable with us being the interface. I don't think it's going to cost us much. And I think we can manage our community better than perhaps than Sam can.
The program should pay for itself.
Okay. I mean,
Well,
given
yeah,
that,
we've been paying for it, so
Right.
I don't know where the money's going.
given that the permit process lapsed 7 years ago, and a number of businesses have opened and turned over since then, including several of the ones that were on their list, it seems, starting with education so that they are prepared to be successful is a reasonable way to go.
Yeah.
And Nora and Delia are looking into working with the county to make sure that we get notified about new businesses.
Well, what we found out is that the county does not issue business licenses for the unincorporated area. So we have been directed solely to the planning department for use permit information, and they do not keep track. So they have they can't give me a list. So I've got to go higher up in planning and see if I can somehow ask them to, provide them as they come in the door or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
we're working on it.
Yeah, and Delia and I talked.
Those businesses have licenses. Who issues them?
I don't know. I don't know.
At the state
That's
level?
what we were told.
Oh, I find that hard to believe.
Look at the fictitious name department, because they're all. You have to acknowledge the town, the county that you come from. I have a couple of them.
Well, then we were talking to Nora was basically taking the lead on that. I don't know who she talked to over there, but I did hear that person tell her that. So maybe she was talking to the wrong person, but I'll jump in and get involved in that and see what I can find out.
Yeah, and Delia and I were talking about this. I think we're making this too complicated. I'm not gonna pin my hopes on the county. We're in El Granada. We can drive up and down 7 streets in Princeton and hit most of all the restaurants. There's Sam's Chowder House. That's a heck of a lot faster than calling into the county. We've got a small town here, so I think that's more efficient.
Isn't Sam's in Half Moon Bay?
It's in the city of,
but it's within our district, yeah.
Within our district, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of turnover as far as businesses go. I mean, there's problems with some vacancies here and there's different restaurants that go in, but the businesses don't change that much. And
it's going to be 10 or 15 businesses we're looking at again. It's too small. Yeah.
And the breweries are producing so little of water into the system. It's just not even, it's very small.
Ecology might be an easier place to find them.
Yeah, I noticed that Kishin used an example of 2,500 gallons per day. We're more like what Chuck said, 100 gallons per day. So it's huge difference. We're very small.
Well, and the problem is that Hop Dogma is their water source is the same as the hotel. They only have one.
Right, and same with the restaurant. So it's hard we could ask them to put a separate meter, but that's expensive. I don't know.
Well, and we're not focused on the breweries. I've heard that multiple times at the SAM. So it must.
Yeah.
So we can stop talking about it.
So I don't know if we want a motion or just people want to express an opinion here.
I'd like to first say that I'm in favor of GCSD and SAM collaborating for the reason that Nancy mentioned, that we already relate to our ratepayers and we should keep doing that. And because I think we can take a more sensitive and individualized approach to it. SAM seems to be, not doing that. And it's collaborative, and I would like to point out that even though somebody let the whole thing lapse 7 years ago, there have to be records that show most of the businesses that were in our district 7 years ago who had to go through the process and either get permits or not. It may be pretty simple that we find those documents and we update them. So it shouldn't be that difficult. And, you know, where the fees go, I think will be a sticking point, but isn't it always?
We're paying them anyway, and I'll volunteer to do a personal tour of all the establishments when I'm up next. Eventually it all gets into the sewer system, but
how much beer can you drink?
We'll find out.
But I would like to hear from Directors Sukumel and Seaton about this, because I'd like to see board-wide support for this idea.
Yeah, I mean, my comment, I think in general, I support it. I think the main question that's raised is who's the main interface of it. And I think in the short term, I don't think it really matters. I think we would, you know, we could save some money, you know, it's all devils in the details. I think the long term, if you really think about it, it becomes a microcosm for some of the same issues I've raised for years, where if GCSD is running our own program, MWSD is running their own program, Half Moon Bay is running their own program, and SAM is trying to spend 3 times the resources to see what everyone's doing. Long term, it creates this bureaucratic, like, what do you guys have 4 different agencies doing source control? Why not just have SAM implement it with guidance within each district that's set forth by the district board members of how it's going to be done. These are the guidelines. This is how it's going to be done, but everything flows through SAM, because ultimately they're the ones that's going to be analyzing all the data. And on top of all that, and I think if you think about it, it's kind of the classic example of how things have gone so bad and where everyone's suing each other. If we take a step back and we say, well, short term, it really doesn't matter. Devil's in the details. Long term, it does matter. If all of us go in this direction of creating our own bureaucracy basically around this, 10 years from now, it's going to,
we're not creating our own bureaucracy. We're doing exactly what you're talking about. We are not doing this independently. It's a collaboration with SAM, because they are ultimately the people who are running the treatment plant. And all the districts are collaborating. Our program will look like we're going to hire the same consultant. So we are doing exactly what you're saying. We are doing this collaborative. We're not doing it independently.
Okay, and my thing is, the last question that was raised in the packet is, does the board agree that GCSD should be the interface with domestic source businesses in our district rather than SAM? So I'm addressing that question specifically. I think everyone agrees we should do this. I think the main question our board needs to decide is who needs to be that main interface. Obviously, if SAM does it, we're going to have oversight. We're going to enforce how they do it. I just think in general, long term, 10 years from now will be much smoother if as soon as this needs to be done, you reach out to SAM, no confusion, rather than, oh, I'm a new business owner. Who do I call GCS? No, actually, you call Half Moon Bay because it's here. No, because of where the property is. You know, there's so much confusion.
Yeah, we're the interface, and we're going to work out this program with SAM.
Yeah, and that's, I think that is an important component of it, though.
Absolutely, and that's number one.
Yeah, and so if we could do that, I think that's what the JPA was in place for, and this could be the start of the way this thing should function, you know.
And so that's exactly what we're looking to do, David. Yeah.
When there's a new business and they have to contact GCSD for a sewer permit, that's where you plug in to also give them this education as a new business, right?
Yeah, and sometimes they don't contact us for a sewer permit if it's just a change of use. But again, we're small enough, and when that happens through this program, we'll figure out as part of it who's going to be the contact, because we don't want, like David said, we will have one person, and I think that's why we'll be the interface, but we will collaborate continually with SAM because they're the people running the treatment plant. So.
Yeah, and my only thoughts, I mean, I'm just looking at it like this way, like if, you know, on SAM's website, there should be one email, one point of contact, for that first, if you're local, oh, I'm going to start a business on the coast. Oh, what's this source control program? You might get a lease in MWSD, so you're dealing with them, but then maybe you're dealing with El Granada, then you're dealing with Half Moon Bay. I just think it needs to be clear that if you're going to enter this program, there's one point of contact, one website landing page, one starting point that everything kind of glares from that, rather than this fragmented approach to where, oh, if you're in this district, you're going to follow it this way. But no, if you lease this business a couple feet over this way, you're actually going to follow a different program. So I'm just making that clear. I think that would be very helpful. That when the community is looking for information on this program, there's one landing page, one email, one place that everything's being funneled to, even if that's getting forwarded out to the individual districts from there, just to create that seamless consistency so that there's not this, are you serious? And I think that's just important. That's my thoughts.
Can I just mention that if Sam didn't drop the ball in the first place, that we wouldn't be discussing it now. They used to do it, and they dropped the ball.
Eric, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I mean, I'm not gonna be throwing bombs like Delia. No, I'm fully supportive of this. I mean, I think education is always preferential to testing and punitive measures. We should treat our customers like a partner. And I think that this is a much better way to approach this. And I think Barbara's right that the businesses in this district will embrace that. I mean, frankly, they're probably already embracing it, but this way we document that they are.
Okay. So is it consensus of the board that, when our two SAM reps are going to go in there, that, we're all in favor, obviously, it's non-domestic source control program, and that the district will be the interface with our ratepayers, and we will collaborate, obviously, with SAM, as I've discussed at our managers meetings and whatnot, and move forward like that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that sounded easy, didn't it?
Well, I don't know. It sounded like we have consensus to me.
Here, anyway.
Yes.
At least
you'll be fine.
At least 4-1.
Because we won't be at the meeting, Eric.
Yeah, I'll be fine.
That's the contractor's lament. Can't see it from my house. So
I'm the second alternate. So if everybody gets sick next week, I'll be suspicious.
I thought you were the first alternate.
You're the first alternate. Yeah, Sam doesn't put me on their report, so.
And maybe I'll get my COVID booster on Sunday just to be safe.
Okay, I think that's all I need for that.
Okay, item 10, report on sewer authority and mid-coast side meetings. We basically just did that. This has been the topic at the last several meetings.
Yeah. So I don't have any further.
There's been a couple other just minor items that we've done. One that's just a little bit interesting is that there's a MOU working with the Resource Conservation District, San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, Coastside County Water District, SAM, and the county to have a measurement station on Pilarcitos Creek, which is right next to the plant. So it costs, I don't know, like $3,000 a year is Sam's share. So it's a minor thing, but I think it's interesting that there's such an assortment of agencies working together to monitor that creek. And of course, when we had the big rain, there's a lot of birds back there. So I was back there and it was pretty darn high, and it's right next to the plant. People talk about sea level rise, but there's a creek going right by the SAM facility that is, it's right there.
Barbara, just to educate me, is it gauging station measures the flow over time?
Yes, sorry, and the level, I guess. I don't even know exactly. I'm just making that up, but that's what I assume. I assume that
is what it does, yes.
Yeah. And then there's been a couple other they're continuing to implement the capital improvement program. And there seems to be a refrain out there that Sam isn't improving its facilities. And there are constant improvements, and $2 million a year, plus the extra $800,000 that has been or will be spent this year on the plant upset. $2 million of capital improvements every year in the SAM treatment plant. And I think we mentioned last time that in the big storm, it was the second set of storage boxes in the Burnham Strip that kept SAM from having a violation. And Pacifica had, I think, a 2 million gallon sewage spill into the ocean.
3 million.
3 million? I wasn't sure if it was 2 or 3. I decided not to say the higher number. Okay.
They had a 3 million gallon spill.
Yes. And the Burnham Strip boxes kept SAM from having violation. They were, I think, was 6 inches away from having a problem. So,
Good news.
That was a big project, cost a lot of money, and we all paid our part of it. And it kept us from having a negative outcome from this last big storm. So that's a good thing.
Are you saying it benefited Half Moon Bay?
Yes, it did. It benefited all of us. Absolutely.
I thought we said no more bombs.
Well, and that's exactly what happened in Pacifica. It was their southernmost pump station got overwhelmed because they didn't have a storage facility or enough capacity, and ended up a lot of it on the beach.
Okay.
Okay. The consent agenda, which is rather lengthy. Item 11, October 21st, 2021, special and regular meeting minutes. Item 12, November 2021 warrants. Item 13, approved change order payment for Devaney Engineering for $61,682. Item 14, September 2021 financial statements. Item 15, assessment district distribution number 4-21/22. Item 16, approved notice of completion for the Medio Creek Bridge Crossing Sewer and Relocation Project Phase 2. And item 17, approved notice of completion for the 2020 sewer replacement project. Does anyone want to discuss any of these items more?
No, I'll just say that just like I said about Sam, GCSD is getting a lot of projects done to improve our sewer system. So.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out again that Meteor Creek project was the project that took the sewer pipeline, it was the second phase. So there's no sewer pipeline going over the bridge over the Meteor Creek anymore. So that's kind of nice to have because it's right on the ocean, obviously, in the creek. So.
And I guess the county is going to take care of getting rid of our old pipe when they get rid of that, when they move that bridge, right?
Yes.
And I have to say our contractors did a much better job of patching the street when they finished their work than PG&E did, though I think PG&E is going to do a slurry seal over the top. But even so, our guys made much less of a mess.
Barbara, just so you know, I was told that the PG&E patches are temporary.
That's what I figured. They're gonna because they did that on they did it on Francisco. They slurry sealed over the top. But even so, there's been just a lot of. I go down Isabella a lot, and there's a lot of bumping on all those plates, those steel plates. So
maybe they're going to come back and put those plates in permanently.
Now they've patched them. They have patched them now with asphalt, but it's still messy. But I think that's because they're going to come over the top and repave the whole street.
We're down to one plate left on Isabella, but lots of bumps over where they were.
Yeah, but our block has now got a whole bunch of yellow lines on it. So everywhere you live in El Granada, it's coming to you too.
They were working on Balboa today. They had Balboa closed, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second.
It's consent, no discussion. Let's have the roll call, please.
Director Sucamel.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Marsh.
Aye.
Director Dye.
Aye.
Director Seaton.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right. Item 18, committee reports, seminars, conferences, or committee meetings. Do we have any?
Nope.
Item 19, we don't have an attorney here. Item 20, general manager's report.
I've got nothing further.
Item 21, administrative staff report.
Nothing further.
Let's see. Oh, Celia, I just wanted to make sure I know what this is. The Class 2D for Pillar Point property. That's the new RV park at Capistrano and 1, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. There aren't that many 41,000 square foot parcels.
Yeah.
Okay. Item number 22, engineers report.
Nothing further than what John put in his thing. We finished the 2 projects. Good news.
I only have one comment. Chuck, you got this email from John, and the second to last paragraph says the only work remaining is installing a short section of striping or box dots. That's what Devaney is supposed to do. Can we tell them we like stripes?
We sure can.
Because I walk these streets, 6 days a week, and box dots Caltrans may think they're wonderful, but they don't stay. And when they break into pieces, they have really sharp edges. And if you hit a broken one, you might have to buy a new tire.
Okay. All right. No bots dots.
Yeah. Besides Mr. Bott retired long ago. He won't care. Item 23, future agenda items.
We've got the one for January. We'll be talking about some ecology stuff come December. And Nancy, you have your hand up?
I think are planning to come in January, perhaps with options on Parks and Rec staffing.
Okay.
So that one I would add, yeah. Is that what you meant by January?
I already had that on my list, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
I have one more thing, which is I'd like to see us start thinking about getting an architect to look at the preschool building, to start that process.
That's part of that, actually. Yeah. That's part of that, Barbara.
Okay.
Okay. Well, great. I believe we're done. I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you all.
Night.